I do support this personal insolvency bill. But we have to look at the past. And I said last night again when we were discussing this that in 2008, people, at the time of the crash, the people went to the banks looking to make negotiation with banks that were in trouble at that time with inflation because the price of housing had gone through the roof. And the banks would not deal with them. They just kept telling them, just keep paying and keep paying. Until it got to the stage where people stopped paying and then the banks listened to them. I'm in construction all my life, from the late 80s. And I can see to now, and I'm still in construction. And I can see the inflation that's actually being brought into the housing market that are making the housing market an awful lot dearer, which again is going to add to this again because people now have to borrow more to get the same product. In the last 12 months, we have seen in materials for housing has gone up 38%. Insulation, timber, blocks, concrete, everything has gone up. And yet we do not have a housing market. We've no supply and demand for the people that need housing. If you look from a point of view of housing and demand for people, and then we look at what was being voted on last night, which the government voted against, was amendment for the 2040 bill, to amend it, to allow people for building houses within the rural areas, the towns and the villages. They no longer can do that either, because everything has been shoved into city base where there is existing infrastructure. So if you look at Limerick at the moment and the prices of houses, again, this is going to feed into insolvency because people have to borrow more. Houses that were making $375,000 only 6 months ago have now soared to $450,000 because of supply and demand. And actually 34% of those houses have actually been bought up by people that are relocating from Dublin. And people that are relocating from large cities and towns that are relocating to Limerick are getting higher prices. Can you imagine a 3 or 4 bedroom house here in Dublin could make in 700,000 or 800,000? And they can come to Limerick then and get one and put people in Limerick out of the market because they have higher prices coming in. We have seen people that have got into trouble for their mortgages through no fault of their own, could have lost their job, and they tried to make deals with the banking societies and they weren't listened to. They try and make deals with the bank and try to contact the banking societies, and there's nobody to talk to. You could be talking to someone in a different country. The banks took away the dealing from their own bank managers and staff and have moved it to a central, and they've moved it all to a phone service. We do need protection for people, but we also need contact that people can get and resolve their issues. There is issues here going on for the last 10 years or more. And a lot of the fault of it is the banking institutions not willing to negotiate with landowners and people that have got themselves into trouble. We do have a minority of people that don't care of their debt, but it's a minority. But we have an awful lot of people that wanted to sort out their issues, but we're not given the opportunity. There's an awful lot of people in this country now are trying to get on the first-time housing list, and they can't get there because of inflation. And I've mentioned it there earlier. It's because not only from the house prices, it's the labour prices, again a fault of not having enough people with apprentices being invested in. After 2008, they pushed everyone into higher level education, which left an awful lot of the tradespeople and apprentices not going ahead because they said they had too many tradespeople, and now we're 10 years behind in trying to get tradespeople so we can do basic maintenance in areas, which actually adds to this again, because now the tradespeople that are there at the moment are charging an awful lot more because of supply and demand. Again, a failure of government. We have to look at this in a holistic approach. And I was so disappointed last night when the amendment for the 2040 plan was not helped by even the rural TDs in this House that are in government. Because this now is going to add again to prices going up countrywide. I hold in front of you today, there is 25 pages in all, and because of the 2040 plan not being amended, I have 63 plannings for people in rural areas in County Limerick. 63 plannings. Since I've been involved in politics and in construction in all my life, I have never had more than 10 roll over at a time trying to help people. And my phone is hopping from people because they know I have construction background and that planning would be a thing that I would do an awful lot with. They're scared. They're scared for the future of their children, their grandchildren, because of the lack of vision by this government and the lack of investment in our rural areas. So we can actually meet in our areas, in the rural areas, we are able to meet our supply and demand. You set up an agencies for the LDA to invest in our area, and what are they doing? Everything that's been invested is city-based. So we all want to help people to go forward. We all want to help people to help them so they can live and the next generation live. But this is not going to help if we do not address the issue that's going to cause more and more inflation, which is going to cause an awful lot more problems that are going to put families in trouble. And we are going to have to do our utmost to help. Now, this bill does go a lot of the way to helping. But as other speakers said, it's now a little too late. And on one hand, you're bringing this bill in, which will help, and on the other hand, you're actually creating a problem. You're lighting a fire that's going to spread out of control, that you will not be able to control. So the insolvency bill is welcomed, but the inflation side that you're causing yourselves under the 2040 plan is actually going to feed into this, and it's going to cause more hardship for the people, not only in the towns and the cities, it's going to the whole country is going to suffer, because your left hand does not know what your right hand is doing. Now, as I said at the very start, I do support what this bill is doing. It is a little bit too late, but something that's going a little bit of the way will help. But I do hope that you look at the other side of things and that you do understand that you are actually the cause of an awful lot of the problems that are actually in this country at the moment, and have been in the country up to this, because of not knowing of how to supply and demand. And rural areas were able to do it recently themselves, and now you're even cutting off a lifeline on that. So the only way that we are going to help this insolvency plan going forward and stop the price increases, which are going to stop people borrowing more money, is invest in infrastructure and invest in giving extra capacity to areas, to towns and villages, so we can actually help along the way, which will drive down prices. When you can build more houses, you will bring down prices, which means people do not have to borrow as much, and then they can live their lives. And they're not going to spend 40 years trying to pay off for a house that should have only taken 20 years as I was growing up. So, Minister, I do welcome the support of this, but as I say, it's a little bit too late. But any bit that is there to help, I will work with that. Thank you.